For the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, the Kansas City Chiefs are 0-2, and it seems to be like there's real doubts about the Chiefs as a whole and where the future of their season holds. And it makes you wonder, is the Chiefs dynasty in total completely finished? Was last year their final time to get the vaunted three-peat and potentially get another Super Bowl before they completely need to retool, rebuild, probably get rid of the coach, the Hall of Fame tight end, and the Hall of Fame defensive tackle, and start with brand new players and maybe start a second Mahomes era dynasty the same way that the Patriots did? That was a real question mark. And it's a real question mark now after the Eagles came into Kansas City and beat the Kansas City Chiefs 20-17. Now, this game wasn't a blowout. It wasn't a demolition. It was not a Super Bowl 59 by any means. But ultimately, the Chiefs lost this game, and they lost this game to the Eagles because simply they didn't play good enough. They had more possession of the ball. They probably had more opportunities to score overall, but they didn't win the game. And everything from top to bottom about the Chiefs to me looks a little bit worse. This defense, the vaunted defense that was the reason why they won the Super Bowl during the 2023 season. Remember, that entire year, the Chiefs didn't allow 28 points a single time. They were the reason why, was the Chiefs' defense, why they won the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes was clutch in important situations, but it was the defense that really carried them. 2024, they were a fantastic defense as well. Other than the Bills game when they allowed 30 points, the Bills game in the regular season, obviously the Super Bowl, which was a demolition, they held everybody to low numbers, so the offense didn't have to do that much, so it was simple. This defense, even though they haven't given up 30 points here, anything close to that, they don't seem to be as revered as they did. From Trent McDuffie to Nick Bolton, Leo Chenal, George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, they still have all those guys, and they don't have major injury concerns there, but they don't seem to be as good as they were last year. And it seems like they took a decline there. And I wouldn't be surprised if one of these teams like the Ravens, who they play in the week 4, the Lions, who they have to play, many other offenses which are very high powered. Bills, I forget they have to pay the Bills again in Orchard Park again this year. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those teams comes in and puts up 30, 35 points on the Chiefs because the defense doesn't look as good. We talk about the receivers. Obviously, Rashee Rice is out. Rashee Rice was out basically all of last year because of the injury that he sustained in the Chargers game in week 4, but he's still out right now, will be out for the first 6 weeks. Xavier Worthy got hurt in the game in Brazil, actually by Travis Kelce on accident, but he ran into him, shoulder injury, and he's out still. And Travis Kelce himself, he's not hurt, but he cost them a touchdown. He was the reason why they didn't score in the end zone. It's always strange when this happens because interceptions always go down as a quarterback stat. The quarterback threw the interception, but it can 100% be the fault of a receiver. And a lot of times it is the fault of a receiver, even though it will go down as the quarterback stat. He was the reason why the Chiefs didn't score in the end zone there. And I know it's short-sighted, but you could say he was the reason why the Chiefs didn't win that game. They scored a touchdown. It's 13-17. Maybe the Eagles march down and get a touchdown on their own. Very possible. But it seems like both offenses were stalled at that point by these defenses. The Eagles defense is still very, very good. They still have a bunch of big name guys: Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, so many guys: Zach Bond, Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship. So many vaunted guys, number one guys. Jordan Davis, I forgot to mention, who lost like 25 pounds. Still so many great guys on their defense. And through the first 2 weeks, they've allowed 20 against the Cowboys in week 1, and we just saw the Cowboys put up 40 the next week. So clearly that's something, even though the Cowboys aren't very good. And they only allowed 17 to Patrick Mahomes, so that's something to definitely take your hat off on. So even though the Eagles overall haven't looked as impressive as I thought that they would, and they don't look as good as they've looked last season, their defense still looks great. And you can't shy away from that. They still look like one of the best defenses in the league. But for the Chiefs, like I said, receivers, there's question marks there, and Patrick Mahomes. For Patrick, I give him major respect because he used his legs in this game a lot, even though he's not necessarily advised to do that. He's not the type of quarterback where the Chiefs just design 5, 6, 7 design runs for him every game, like a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen. Typically, he's only rushes for first downs or for long drives when either nobody's open downfield, the play is stalled, or he needs to get out of trouble. And he's not a super fast guy, but you see him run away from guys and gain separation. So kudos to him for using his legs and willing his team to first downs and long drives and a touchdown at one point that he got the rushing touchdown. But Patrick is missing a lot of throws. He missed Thornton a couple times. They brought in Thornton to be another deep threat because the question mark we always had about Patrick is, damn, he used to throw all these 40, 50, 60-yard passes. He doesn't do that anymore. He throws short passes, 5 yards, 10 yards. A lot of that has to do with losing Tyreek Hill, and you don't have a Sammy Watkins or Pringle or some of these deep threat guys. Not even an MVS who left now. I think he's on the practice squad now. Juju Smith-Schuster's just whatever. Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice are both still injured, so Thornton is supposed to be the guy who you essentially bring in to say, let's get some deep passes going on. And he missed him. He missed another receiver. I think it was Gray. He missed Gray. Completely wide open. Patrick just overshot him. So it seems like he hasn't gotten the full connection of some of these receivers who aren't Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice. And Rashee Rice hasn't played football in over a year. And that seems to be a concern, a huge concern, because they're not threatening down the field anywhere near as much as they should be. They brought in a lot of these guys, a lot of these young guys in to say, we're going to get Patrick back to being a quarterback who can throw 50, 60-yard passes down the field, and he's not doing that anymore because he's missing them a lot of times. So there's question marks all over the field for the Chiefs. And it seems to me that they've lost a level of invincibility. Maybe teams aren't afraid of them anymore. Maybe teams aren't skeptical anymore, maybe of themselves when they go against the Kansas City Chiefs. And maybe, just maybe, I don't buy into the whole ref argument that the refs just favor the Chiefs. I think that's a huge hater argument that people bring in. It was the same thing that people said about the New England Patriots. Let's not have revisionist history about the Patriots. Let's not forget Spygate, Deflategate, the Tuck rule. They beat the Chiefs in 2018 in the playoffs because Dee Ford barely lined up off sides after Tom Brady threw the game away and threw a pick to end the game. Let's not forget that. Let's not have revisionist history like the Patriots weren't accused of cheating many times. They just get respect now because Brady's retired and Belichick's done. But when teams are playing during the moment, most of the time, people think they're cheating and they hate them, especially dynasty teams. If the Eagles come out and they win a Super Bowl again, they're just going to become the new Chiefs in terms of hatred and dislike. That's really how the NFL and really every sports league works. They hate every team who is racking up win after win after championship after championship. So it's weird because if you remember, the Kansas City Chiefs didn't lose a one-score game since that Christmas 2023 debacle against the Raiders. From then until this game, they hadn't lost this game that was a one-score game, and they hadn't lost a game at home since then. And now they've both lost 2 one-score games to open up this season, and they've lost at home to the Eagles. So it seems like maybe the Chiefs are coming back down to earth. It's not like they suck now. They're not back in the era where they were losing every game and they were a 4 or 5 win team. It's not that, because you still have superstars all over the field. But maybe, would you put it past this team to finish 11-6, 10-7, barely sneak into the playoffs? Maybe for the first time don't make the AFC Championship game in the Mahomes era? Not impossible. Not impossible, and that would have been past them because I just saw the Chargers last night. They look good. They look like the best team in the division. They look like they are going to be dangerous with as great as their defense is and how much Justin Herbert seems to have improved. Some passes that he seemed like he would have gone for, he doesn't do anymore. I think he's improved both physically and also mentally. And maybe they look like the best team in the division right now, which is crazy to say in a division that contains the Chiefs. But the Chiefs are miles off of it at the moment. And look, they have a game against the Giants, who are the 0-2. And this should be a get-right game for the Chiefs. If they lose this game, it is panic 1,000, okay? It is panic to the highest degree you've ever seen before. But they should come in and go to New York and go and win this game against the Giants pretty handily, I would suspect. And then they have another test week 4 against the Baltimore Ravens at home. But nevertheless, against the Ravens, which would be another major test with how high-powered we know that the Ravens are. So we'll see what happens there. But the Chiefs, there are question marks. There are doubts. There are concerns. And it leaves you speculated that maybe the Eagles broke them in the Super Bowl. Psychologically, they broke them and they ended a dynasty by beating them that year. So let's see what happens with the Chiefs. I think they should be fine. I think they should still get into the playoffs. Probably still win this division because I do think they're better than the Chargers still. But there are huge question marks about them. And we'll see what they do throughout the rest of the year. But it'll be very interesting to see if the Kansas City Chiefs can come from this and pull off what would be the most impressive accomplishment, I believe, during the Mahomes era, which is to potentially win the Super Bowl after starting 0-2.